Okay, hello everybody. The idea to talk today is the open source guild. Uh, the idea is to present a new space that we want to create in Lenio Labs, and to invite you if you want to participate with us. This idea of the guild, I think like 2 weeks ago, Martin Burak sent me a DM telling that in Spotify they are using these concepts, and we discussed it quite a bit, and it's really nice. What they do in Spotify, they are doing agile, and they have the typical like scrums, and they have chapters for like combining several teams across one particular field. But they have this really nice concept of a guild that are members who are really passionate about a certain topic, and they join to create a community of interest. And these guilds are optional, and they span across the whole organization. So no matter if you belong to a certain team or you're working for a certain client, you can belong to a certain guild. When we saw the kind of activities that they do, and how they work, actually, like in Lenio Labs, we are already doing something similar with some of the spaces that we have. Like if you see how the JavaScript channel is working, there we are sharing like a common topic, that is how to work with JS, and we share links to libraries, we learn together, we send challenges, it is open for questions and to help each other, and we learn together. And everybody from any team can join and can participate there. Not everybody in the company is active, like some people likes to learn in different ways that to participate in a channel like that. But this concept applies kind of a little bit there. But in Spotify, what they do, they give a name and an entity to this concept, to the guild, and the people that belongs to it, they feel part of it. Like I am part of the guild of JavaScript developers. I don't know if you want later, it can be a fancy name. And what they do, for example, is to have meetings, like weekly or bi-weekly meetings, to talk a little bit about more in a meta fashion about what to do to learn together in a better way, or what we can organize to share this knowledge or this topic. For example, like there are guilds that are not about programming or like web or whatever, but are about sports or music. And in particular, the sports one work very well if we will be in an office. And there, for example, they can organize together and say, okay, like every Friday we get together and we run together, for example. Here, I think it also could work at one point. But this is not about making, like, taking that concept and applying everywhere in the organization, but about using it for the next space that we want to create, trying to apply this concept and see how it works. And what we want to do is to create an open source space, trying to push for learning while collaborating with external libraries that we use. Like we use a lot of open source in our day-to-day. Like if you see, our dependencies are all open source, and I think that we can learn a lot by trying to, like, not stay only with the answer of Stack Overflow about a particular workaround, for example, but to try to go to the repo to try to see if there is an issue already there about that, or and write that issue and try to solve it, or even go one step extra and download the repo, run the test, and try to create a test for this case that is failing and try to solve it and look at the code. And this particular way of working like teaches a lot, like reading the code of other people, like doing something that is out of your normal day-to-day of your application. For example, like there are people that are already working with the same application for a long time, and like being able to see other code bases, it's really quite refreshing at one point, and also they learn a lot. So the problem with this is that it's quite intimidating at first to do it, like to go there and try to send a PR. And I think that the feeling is that I don't know, it will be rejected, or I don't know, I will not be able to do it. And what I see is that when you go and clone the repo and see the contributing MD and start the repository, like doing the typical npm install, npm dev, or like yarn, you will see that it's exactly the same setup that we are working everywhere. And doing that already, only like doing having it in your computer already is like 90% of the way to actually try to send a PR, like giving that step. So I think that the group, one of the objective will be to give us a strength, like to push us and help us to be able to do this particular thing. For even we can get into talks or something to, if something doesn't work, like to try to help fix it, or like as we do with other projects. And one thing that they do very nicely in Spotify with the guild concept is this idea of like one weekly. And we want to start like every Friday at 12 to do a weekly about this. And for the people that wants to get involved, the space, the open source channel that we will create will be open for everybody, and people can go and be more passive about like they like the topic, but they don't want to get more involved and for example, get into these calls. But if these calls will also be open, and there we can have discussions about this, like how we try to push this concept forward, and how we try to push everybody in the company to actually change their mindset about collaboration with external libraries, or even with internal ones. We have, for example, Layouted to collaborate, and luckily there have been several people that have collaborated with us. But even internal, in all the clients that we are working with, mostly we are doing design systems right now, and the same kind of problem appears there, that how we get people from product to send PRs to the platform, to the design system, and how we can get the people that are working in out of the design system to feel that they can really do it, and that is not difficult, and that is open for them to do the PRs. So I tend to think that this concept is going to help a lot. I wanted to share a bit of what I have been doing in the since we sent Layouted out in the open. That is kind of like a bit of some of adventures in collaborating also with external projects. After the success of Layouted, that it was really nice to actually get all the contributors. There were like 20 different people sending PRs, internals and externals. Like I wanted to see if I can also send out to other projects. So one of the things that we use internally is what's called views. It's a library of composables, the equivalent of hooks in React. And we developed one in Layouty that it was called use ref history to be able to do undo and redo. And actually, I wanted to do a library of directly posting that composable, but I saw that the guy making views already added that particular composable. So the first thing was actually to go and propose to this guy, it's called Anfu, to propose like what we have done differently for compared to the one that he did, and try to see like if we can actually collaborate in making it better. And he was really nice. Like at the end, he didn't like it all of the changes, but we discussed it, and he applied quite a bit of the things that we wanted, and we ended up like replacing our implementation with the used one. There was one thing in particular that I asked for and we didn't get it, that it's difficult to explain why. It's about like the flushing mode, but when at one point he wanted to do the release of views going out from beta, like there was like a little bit of time to actually set the API and review the API. So I took one more opportunity to try to push for that change, that like to be more closely as we had it before. And so he was again very receptive, and we worked together actually and got that PR working. And there like he was like really happy about that, and we continue doing like work in that regard. Like for example, because I did the review of how Flush worked in that particular composable, I took the work of doing it for all the other composables to see like if some of them needed to change. So this was kind of like a chain, no? Like one thing that I did, like one interaction, opening doors for other interactions. And in one of these interactions that we had, like he proposed that what about adding an option to have like the bounce time in one particular composable, and if we will add that particular thing, we will have like to add a lot of like different options, like small options together. And so again, like this was another idea that I didn't want it to send a PR because it was too much for like changing the whole library, how it worked. But even like just sending an idea of like what if instead of doing it like that, like adding different options, we just add only one option that like a filter, and users can configure different kind of filter, like a advanced filter and a throttle filter, instead of having like to implement everything in all the composables. And actually, like I say directly in the issue that I didn't think that I was able to do it, but I think that was a good direction. And he actually liked the idea, and like he implemented it himself and shared it. That it was quite nice. And then like the work that we did for like the flush mode actually like pushed me to extract another composable to make the user history like implementation. So I extracted it and also like proposed it for the library, and he also accepted it. And I sent some tweets about this, and he actually replied like, why don't you do a post about it? And this is also interesting that I see like the collaborations in open source, we don't only need to think that they are going to be about sending PRs. As I show, like it can be just like an idea, like for an issue, or it can be even like writing a blog post. So I started like I wanted to do a blog for a long time. So like this pushed me to, okay, I will write the post, and I will try to set up a blog post and put it out. And actually like I pushes it, and I use it for this another project that I really like that is called BitPress, that I have been sending also a lot of links there in JavaScript. And by using it, I found that there were some issues actually, like for example, like with the code highlighting. And again, like because I'm trying to push myself to fix it, instead of just saying, okay, I don't use the feature, I download BitPress, I run it, and it was really easy to debug. And actually, it was just a little detail about styling that it was easy to fix. Like maybe the file, the lines changed. Maybe it's like this, like changing a 66% by this. This was the change. And but anyways, like it's useful. It's like it's a useful contribution. So I started sending these PRs, and actually Kia, that is the one that maintaining BitPress right now, or mostly, he also was really welcoming. And this just sending a PR about a particular style thing also started to open doors, because I said when there was no easy way to try this because BitPress is just starting. So I proposed it like to port the documentation from another project that's called ViewPress, that is kind of like, this is kind of the little brother of the other project. And we can port the documentation, and we will have a way to test the feature because we have it. And he was, yeah, well, we are welcome. So again, I started to port the documentation. And because this is a really kind of work in progress project, as I was porting the documentation, there were a lot of things that were not like working or not the same, and a lot of things are starting to appear that we can, like, actually I could send PRs for. So it started like this, like sometimes it's not only like you start by sending something that a correction to the doc. Maybe you look at something in Stack Overflow, and if that answer will be in the docs, that will have helped you a lot. So maybe you send an extra paragraph or like a warning to add to the docs, and that can be like the door to actually contributing more to a project that you really like. Ideally, like it is more about this thing about like I use in a project and I find a bug and I want to go there and try to fix it. But maybe there are some like opportunities to collaborate that is not that you find a bug, but it's just like you really like a project and you maybe start to do small things there, like you go and help with the documentation or see the issues if there are like good fair issues or things like this to collaborate. And this is the kind of thing that we can discuss in this channel later to try to push us there and try to complete PRs and be more involved. So going back. So this the idea of like to open this new space is going to be just one more step. Like I think that what we did by open sourcing Layouted was a really big first step in that direction, and this is just another one. And I think there is a lot more that we can do to give back to the whole community of like open source maintainer that actually like a lot of of the thing that we do right now, like we really owe a lot to them, like all the tools, all the libraries. Like they ask us for a feature, and we can confidently say yes, it's going to be like in 1 week, because we know we are going to find a library that's already implemented like 90% to get there. So in Lenio Labs, like we would like to start doing more in that direction to give back. We are talking already about some things, even more, not only this, but I think that we should go step by step and see where we go. And also the space, like this open source space, can be a place where we discuss about this, like how we give back, like how from Lenio Lab we help and we get more involved in the whole community. So that's it. Like the idea is now to discuss if you have thoughts or questions, or like want to talk more about something in particular.
Matti, I got a question.
Yes.
You told us you contributed to some projects. You made some PRs. How you go about it? Because I found some issues in some libraries I was using, and I raised the issue, maybe asking a question, or maybe telling the maintainer team that there's a problem.
Yes.
But usually what happens is you don't get an answer. So do you notice a difference between going, downloading the repo, and just making the PR and just raising the issue? Or how do you do it? You wait for them to respond if you raise first the issue and then submit the PR?
I think it depends. It depends a lot on the project. There are certain projects that as soon as you send an issue, there will be people there, at least like making triage, like putting the proper labels and at least saying to you, like, okay, we acknowledge that this is an issue. But of course, they will be a lot more receptive if they see that you put the effort. Like, and actually that is like the main point that I think we should push in this guild that we want to form is that try to clone the repo, try to run it and see the code, because like even if you don't get to solve it, maybe you can create the issue but with a lot more information, and they are going to be a lot more receptive to the issue if they see that you actually look into it, no? Because you can talk about even options, like already, like I went into the code and I see these two options to fix it. Like I can send a PR if you want, and that's like normally in project has, like if you go to one of the project, for example, they have a contributing MD. Like if you go to code, contribute an MD, and sometimes it's here, sometimes inside of .github, and they tell you directly like what to do. Like you have to set up with this, and then you develop like this, and you have, I don't know, a storybook, for example, and it's very comfortable to do. And then like sometimes they even will tell you, like if you read this before doing the issue, they will tell you what to do. Like if you want to contribute to existing functions, like then do this. Like if you want to, like normally what they say is like, if you want to fix a bug, just send a PR. Like if you want to add a new feature, like please open an issue first so you don't work and we reject it. But even then, like sometimes to be able to propose it is better to do it, like to download it, to try to implement it. And if they reject it, I think that is not a big deal, but at least like you did it. So I wouldn't be afraid of going directly by PR.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
Mati, do you think it's doable to do like a workshop one day of like you trying to fix something and like with everyone? I still think like for many people like me, this looked like rocket science for some point, but because we never did, so we are kind of like afraid of like even going. Yeah.
Yeah, that is exactly like the feeling that I think that in these meetings that we will have in the guild for anybody that wants to be involved and wants to came and like be part of it. I already talked with some people that are interested, and the idea is to do that. Like maybe one day one Friday we will try to solve one issue together, or at least like look and try to clone the repo or things like this. But the main idea in particular, like to start, if you go to to clone the repo and you see like the README or the contributing, it's really exactly what we are used to do, like yar install, yar dev, or npm install and npm run dev. And normally it's like that. You have a storybook, you have Jest, everybody's using Jest now, and they like once you are running it and once you are seeing it run, then the code is quite clean normally. Like they take a lot of care. They are using a lot of TypeScript, for example. That for me was one of the challenges because I don't have a lot of experience in TypeScript, but that is quite good to learn also. Like both of these projects, both Vue.js and Bitpress, they're using TypeScript. So like I will have to learn as I go. But it's good to push you in that direction. But that's why I say, Martin, that I think is 90% is kind of having the project running in your machine, and it's not the difficulty of doing it because it's exactly the same as we do in LMA. This time they are doing like, I don't know, they have to do this for 5 projects just to run one thing. And it's not the difficulty of doing it, it's the difficulty to actually say, I can do it. Yes, I will turn it.
Nice.
I have a question. You are only talking about projects, Vue.js projects or JavaScript projects, but also there are some open source gems on Rails, for example, that we can do the same as you talk.
Yeah, totally. And even there, I think that for example, in Mylenio, there are already some gems that are in the code base and have some patches. But we need to kind of like, we can try to change that culture of trying to upstream some of that changes, like why we need to change. Can we add that feature up? There, I don't know, like it will depend. Sometimes there are projects that are kind of unmaintained. So they're like, I don't know, like if it is unmaintained, you are not going to have an answer on the other side. But a lot of gems, they are quite well maintained, and like the Rails ecosystem is still like flushing. So yeah, it applies to everything that we use.
What happened to me in that, Mati, is that I usually believe that I'm the problem, not that the library actually has a bug. And I'm sure.
But they have a lot of bugs, eh? Like they they make a lot of issues.
They always
the same
have
as
bugs. Okay, so Mati, we have been discussing this, and I would like to take the opportunity to say that on DimSum we would like to receive open source or like open source help from all of the team that are working on LMA. That's something that it's going to happen sooner rather than later, but we still are working on, of course, making these contributing files and defining how we are going to approach it. But I'm going to be posting on this channel, so everyone that would like to help on DimSum and the LMA teams on open sourcing and working on some tasks, please feel free to join this this new channel, and we'll wait for further instructions.
Yeah, there we can discuss to see if actually like the whole company can help there, because it's open source. But we can
Dimsum
actually...
is not open source like the whole open source, but it's going to be open source for all of the partners and collaborators of LMA.
Yeah.
I don't know if they are going to open source it like for all of the humanity, but
it would be nice at one point if it is like truly open source, like we can actually like everybody can join.
Yeah, of course.
But,
sorry, this
yes.
should be just for bug fixing or also for improving the documentation. I'm talking about the Dimsum.
Yes, we would like everything. We are expecting to start with the open sourcing of the documentation and examples and everything else like sooner than on the project and on bug fixing and so, because the documentation is easier to fix without having all of the other things clear, right? But in the future, we would like to have open source for bugs, features, and documentation and whatnot. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, man.
I just want to share a thought about the open source. For me, at least, when I was younger, I guess, I thought of it like it was kind of a part of communism, right? And I rejected it by that, but yeah, it's just because I was silly. But actually, there is something of gain, even though if you don't fix anything or you do not improve it. Sometimes you can see actually other kinds of architecture or code organization or use of the, for example, React, use of the hooks or whatever the framework or library it is. And that's actually a lot, right? Because, for example, Matthias the other day sent me one repository, and I found a new way on how to use hooks, for example. And that's actually a lot because it improves the ways and in which you develop and the tools that you have in your disposal, right? So yeah, even though if you don't want to fix or improve anything, you can learn a lot just by cloning the repository.
Yeah, totally. It's like doing code reviews or something like that. It always helps take a look at code from other people, and as you say, Juan Cruz, you're gonna see different design patterns or different kind of architectures, and that's great.
Yeah, totally. Again, like also, even if the PR is not merged, for example, or something, like also you learn a lot by interacting, for example, with these maintainers. They really know a lot about how to play this game, about how to engage people, for example, to be open, to say like PRs welcome, and to like you really learn a lot just to talk to them in the context of the project. So there is also a lot of these communication skills that you can learn that are quite nice. And technically also this project tends to use kind of the latest of like tooling and like dev tooling, and it's quite nice to also see the setups that they end up having, and later that you can get and apply them to the project that you're working. And as Juan Cruz said, like downloading another project and reading it, and it's something that is totally different to the code that you're used to, is really like a very good learning experience. And another thing that I wanted to put in the table is that this is the idea in the group, like is not only going to be about like going for external libraries. We also like have layouted, for example, and there are other ideas also to create open source like libraries from us, like from Lenio. And we will try to keep that, like, for example, the issues in layouted like open and like good for like to properly tag as good for issues, for also like if people wants to as a first step before going to another library to collaborate, for example, in layouted, as already a lot of you already have done. That is also quite nice. Like it helps a lot and it makes the library quite good. And actually that is a proper open source contribution at this point.
Adding to that a little bit, this makes a lot of sense in the context of we are a very technical company. Most of us, most of the people working with us are strong technically, and we encourage that kind of situation. We try to push for being as good as possible. And we're not a very sales company. We're not a very marketing company. It's not in the core of the team that we have. We are pushing also to become better on all those points. But technical is our heart, I would say. Contributing to open source, I think that emphasizes that message. The idea is to be recognized. We have the ambition to be recognized externally as a really strong team in the technical side. And all this is aligned with the long-term strategy of the company. And thank you, Matthias, for pushing for this.
Nice. Yeah, and something that we always say is like in our field, we have to be learning like always. Like learning is part of our work. Like it should be something that we do every day, that like we work and learn. Like and also I think it's one of the like challenges of our kind of profession, and also one of the really beautiful things about our profession, that we are always learning and there's always new things to explore. And this should be like also one way more to do that. Like if people feel more comfortable like doing a Udemy course, or like the idea that Juan had, like of like mentors, for example, and having that kind of relationships in Lenio, like that is quite nice. And this like, for example, learning by that, like cloning a repo, seeing the code and trying to send a PR is another way to keep like with all the stuff that is going on and to keep learning. So it's one more thing. And like there are people that are going to like to learn like this. It's not for everybody. They're like everybody learns in the way that they feel more comfortable. But I think that is a really, really good way, and for sure is something that is possible for everybody. Like and even if we start doing some like styles or documentations, like contributions, then later, as I said, like that's only the door for more things later. So any more thoughts? Or
I wanted to ask Matthias, the first steps of all of this, how do you envision, let's say, the next 3-4 months of these, and what do you think are going to be the goals for those initial steps?
I think like when we finish this call, like we will create the open source channel in Slack, and everybody that is curious about this and wants to join, again, even in a passive way to read about what is going on and maybe then later get more involved. We're going to open that space, and we are going to start, as we do with JavaScript persistent problems, to share there, and that is build up that space will be quite important to share things about how to do open source, like how to collaborate, like things about that. That is one objective. The other thing is that, like, taking this concept of the guild, we are going to begin meeting like weekly. I think like we are going to see about the when, but let's say like every Friday at 12 we meet for 1 hour, and this is open for people that wants to feel to be part of this, to try to learn and do these kind of things, and there it's going to be more about like sharing what are we doing, or maybe like there I think Yago is going to be a space like to have these kind of meta discussions, like how we take this and make it work, and try to make it like to empower that group of people, that if there are 6 is good, like if there are 10 is also good, but how we do that this grows, and how we from this point like we help like others in the company to have this kind of mindset. So this I think that particular question we are going to discuss it there. Like I don't have the answer.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks a lot, and see you if you want there in the new space.
Thank you, Mati.
Bye, everybody.
See you.
Nice.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.